Hi girls, this is Miss Gaska. Today I'm going to go over English 2 Semester 2, Week 2, Activity 3.7. But first, I need to admit a mistake. I didn't do this page on your last activity, so I wanted to go back and do that with you really quick before we begin 3.7. So first of all, independent practice double entry journal. This is the method that I highly recommend for when you're reading things fall apart in order to enable your understanding. So when you're doing a double entry journal, it helps you as a reader comprehend what it is you're reading so you don't have to go back and read all over again. So while you're reading, look for examples of Okonkwo's feelings and fears and reasons for those fears and the effect they have on his actions. Also keep an eye out for motif or foil. So as we discussed before, a foil is a character that's meant to be an opposite to another character in order to contrast them. And a motif is kind of like a theme or something that's carried throughout the text, a symbol, an idea. So include textual evidence from each chapter in the left-hand column, write your personal response or interpretation in the right-hand column. So as you read chapters 1 through 4, continue this chart on a separate sheet of paper. And here they gave two examples. But his whole life was dominated by fear, the fear of failure and of weakness. And then the interpretation was, I wonder why Okonkwo is so afraid. How could he be a successful wrestler if he is dominated by fear? Then down here it says, review your notes in your double entry journal and respond to the following questions. How do Okonkwo's fears influence his actions, and what are the reasons for his fears? So now let's continue to Activity 3.7, Family Ties. Our learning targets for this activity are to analyze how a complex character interacts with other characters, and to write an expository essay to compare and contrast. So in this activity, you're going to be reading chapters 5 through 6 and analyzing the relationships between characters in the novel. I also wanted to point out over here, we have a little note on characterization, which is going to be on your exam review. It refers to the methods a writer uses to develop characters, including descriptions of what they say, what they do, how they act, what they think, and what others say about them. So, writers often use characterization in order to create vivid images of characters in a reader's mind. So you're going to be comparing and contrasting how Okonkwo treats his children and his wives in the chapters you have read so far. What do all of his relationships with family members have in common? How are some different from others? Choose a compare and contrast structure, such as a Venn diagram or other graphic organizer that you create. And I'll create an upload spot for that on Edmodo for you. And then here it says to work with a partner or group. We are not working with partners or groups, but you do need to note the names and relationships of the characters. So pay special attention to Okonkwo's family. Include quotes from the novel to support your ideas, and add rows as you need to the graphic organizer below. So we have character, relationship to Okonkwo and others in the family, what do you learn about the character, and what is your reaction to the character. Those are the 4 columns you have to fill out about some of the different characters that you've experienced in the novel so far between chapters 1 and 7. So as we continue, here we have language and writer's craft compare and contrast. So in this unit, you have been comparing and contrasting Achebe's characterization, and you will write a compare-contrast essay for Embedded Assessment 1. So in a compare and contrast essay, the way you organize ideas is an important part of communicating similarities and differences. So recall that a thesis is a statement of your perspective or assessment of a topic. A compare and contrast thesis, therefore, must introduce your ideas about how the subjects of your essay are similar and different. Many compare-contrast thesis statements begin with words like, although, whereas, even though, or while. These words suggest that a contrast is to follow. Here is an example. Although Okonkwo and Yunoka both are tall men, Yunoka walks with a stoop, suggesting that he is burdened by the expectations of his pride. So that's an example of a way to compare. So another way to write a compare-contrast thesis statement is to focus on differences and similarities. For example, consider this thesis. A similarity between Okonkwo and Yunoka is that they are both tall men. Their differences, though, are more pronounced than their similarities. So the organization of your body paragraphs also helps you organize your ideas logically. You may choose to discuss one subject thoroughly in one paragraph and then turn to the other subject in the next paragraph, pointing out its similarities and differences. This structure is a good choice when the first subject is more familiar or provides a lens through which to view the other subject. Alternatively, you may discuss one point of comparison at a time, explaining how the subjects compare on that point before turning to another point of comparison. In this type of organization, each point of comparison is usually discussed in its own paragraph. So in order to practice, we're going to use a graphic organizer such as a Venn diagram as a pre-writing tool to help you compare and contrast two of Okonkwo's family relationships in response to the writing prompt below. Using your graphic organizer, decide if you will use a subject-by-subject or a point-by-point organizational structure. Explain your choice, well, not in your reader writer notebook, but you can put it here in the notes section. So how do Okonkwo's family relationships make him a sympathetic or an unsympathetic character? So make sure to write a thesis statement that compares and contrasts at least two relationships and explores their effect on characterization, include supporting details and quotations from the novel, and use an effective organizational structure with transition words and phrases. And that is all for week 2 for English 2 semester 2. I hope that this has been informative for you, and if you need any additional support with writing this essay here, let me know and I can help you with that. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.